Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Bethany, and today's recipe I'm going to be showing you how to make my classic chili recipe. This is one of my most frequently made recipes in my kitchen, and that's just because I've always loved chili, but it's also very quick and easy to throw together, and everybody loves it. So let's get right into it. All right, so our first step is we want to cook the base of our chili. So I have a Dutch oven pot here. This is a 5.5 quart, just for reference, and you can use a stainless steel pot. I'm just using a Dutch oven. But we're gonna first do 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then we diced up a medium to large onion. We're gonna saute that. Okay, I'm gonna just turn my pot up a little bit because it was pretty low, so it'll take a minute to heat up. But we're gonna add a little pinch of salt in with our onions. Want to help them sweat and also season them. So our pan is finally heated up. And now we're gonna cook the onions for about 3 to 4 minutes. We just want them to be nice and soft, not much browning, but just nicely cooked. And then while our onions cook, we're gonna mince up 5 garlic cloves. All right, so our onions have been cooking for about 4 minutes. They're nice and soft now. So we'll add our minced garlic. And this is not the only garlic we'll be using in this chili. The garlic is really gonna add a lot of flavor. But we're gonna add our 5 cloves that were nicely minced right to the onion. We'll cook this for about 60 seconds with the onion. So now we're adding 1 pound of ground beef. I'm using 1 pound of lean ground beef, but I use regular ground beef a lot of times when making this, so it's really up to you. And then we're gonna make sure we season a generous amount of salt on that beef. And then we're gonna brown it with the onions and the garlic. And just use your spoon to break that up into pieces. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt to the beef. We always want to season a dish throughout every step so we're building flavor. And if you want to use a different protein than beef, you totally can. I have a cousin of mine that makes this recipe all the time with elk, and then you can also use turkey or ground chicken, whatever you like. All right, so our ground beef is nice and browned. It's no longer pink. So now we're gonna add our tomato paste. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste in with our beef. And the reason that I like to add the tomato paste in this step with the beef is because it's a nice little simple step to help richen the flavor of the chili just a little bit more by cooking that tomato paste. And then the tomato paste will also help thicken the chili as well. So we're just gonna cook this with the beef for about a minute or 2. So next we're gonna add our tomatoes. 1 can of crushed tomatoes, 14 ounces, and 1 14-ounce can of diced. And I like to use fire roasted tomatoes just because it adds another level of flavor into the chili. Next, we're gonna add our beans, which is super important in chili. And so I'm doing 1 14-ounce can of navy beans and kidney beans, and I rinsed those and drained them. You can really use any bean you want. That's what makes a chili great, is it's kind of like a pantry recipe. You just use what you have. You can use chickpeas, pinto beans, you can use cannellini beans. I just think that those are really tender and they can kind of fall apart in a chili, but use whatever you have. Sorry, my beans were not navy beans. They're northern beans. I don't know why I said navy. Same thing in my mind. Next, we're gonna add 1 1/4 cup of chicken stock. All right, so now for our chili seasonings, we're gonna first do 2 tablespoons of a nice chili powder blend. Then we'll do 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and then 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. So we got lots of garlic layered into this with the fresh garlic, the garlic powder, but that's what makes it flavorful. And then I'm using Sicilian oregano because that's all I have, but I like oregano in a chili. I think it adds a lot to it. So we're doing 1 teaspoon. I kind of had to get it out and break it up into a little bowl. So I have 1 teaspoon of oregano, dried oregano. You can use regular, you don't have to use Sicilian, but that's all I cook with. And then we'll stir that in there. And then we need 1 teaspoon of salt. And then 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. All right. And on my recipe card, there's also a pinch of cayenne that goes in this, but my chili powder is pretty well spiced. Every chili powder is a little different in that way. So mine's a little bit spicier, so I don't need to add cayenne to this. So we're gonna stir that in there. I can't tell you how often I make this chili. It is something that we will make once a week or even twice a week. It is just my go-to. I don't just make pasta. I know that may surprise some people. I absolutely love this chili, and that's just because it's a high protein meal for us. It's very filling. It's also very quick for me to throw together if I need a last minute dinner. I specifically make this on nights that I go coaching at my local ice rink because I am a former competitive figure skater. And so I go to an ice rink once a week and coach. And when I come back, I am chilled to the bone. I am so cold because I'm not moving much on the ice. And so when I come back, I almost always make chili. And that's just because quick, easy, and it's super warm and comforting. And it's just a classic chili. There's nothing unusual about it. I know a lot of people like to go outside the box with a lot of chili recipes, but not this one. We keep it very simple, classic, and that's how I like it. I found at times when I made this that the tomatoes, just because every tomato is a little different, that the tomatoes were really still a little acidic and they needed just something to balance that out. And so I found that just 1 teaspoon of maple syrup can help balance that. So that is optional if you like. It doesn't make the chili sweet. It just really helps balance the acidity of the tomatoes. So we'll add 1 teaspoon of that, but again, that's totally optional. So now we're gonna partially cover our pot of chili and we'll let this simmer for just 25 minutes on a low, gentle simmer, and you'll just stir that every so often and then it'll cook and be ready. It's really no time, less than 30 minutes and then it's done. All right, so our chili is done. It smells amazing. You really smell all those spices that we put in here. Now, I can't serve chili without adding a little bit of cheese. You can add your favorite chili toppings. You can add cilantro, sour cream, whatever. I don't know what are chili toppings, but all I can think of is cheese. It's perfectly balanced with the spices, not too spicy. Didn't mention that earlier, but I'm not really into spicy food. So for me, the heat is just perfect. It's got a little bit of a kick, and you don't taste a ton of garlic. We did lots of raw garlic cloves and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, but it's not garlicky. It just added a lot of layers of flavor into this. And then you get bites of the beans with the meat. It's just a really hearty meal, perfectly balanced in flavor. So if you make this chili, you can serve it with my cornbread recipe on my website. Hopefully I'll do a video of that soon, stay tuned. And it's perfect with cornbread or sourdough or a rosemary garlic bread, whatever, just bread, some type of bread on the side is perfect with it. So I hope you guys like this and try it. Again, this is a go-to of ours. We make it weekly. So I hope you get to try it and enjoy it. And as always, I'll catch you on the next recipe and I'll see you in the comments.